the Wednesday edition of Afternoon Express Mzansi. I'm Balisa Dembe, and in our mission to continue addressing the scourge of gender-based violence in this country, we are going to turn our focus today to the boy child. Now, we're hosting an informative panel discussion about the work done by shelters to provide a safe haven for women and children. Clinical psychologist Sikanda Kala breaks down the importance of the male influence when raising a boy child. And we're going to be kicking it all off with one of our favorite medical officers slash TV presenter, Dr. Fez Mkhize, whose hashtag Let's Heal Together initiative tackles the root cause of toxic masculinity. And South Africa, you already know what it is. We love hearing your thoughts on parenting. So we've asked you on social media, what do you think the biggest difference is between raising boys and girls? Dumi, how are you doing in the kitchen there, girl?
Hello, Balisa. Happy Wednesday to you and the rest of South Africa. Today, we are making an amazing recipe. If you want to try and replace all the carbs that you eat and want to replace pasta for something more nutritious, well, we're going to be having a butternut faux mac and cheese today, and we're going to be using our amazing clover fresh cream for this recipe. If you want all the ingredients, how to make the recipe, all the information, just go on to afternoonexpress.co.za to get the information. But for now, let's speak to that hunky Dr. Fez Mkhize.
As the plague of gender-based violence continues within our communities, men are now taking matters into their own hands in the fight against the continued cycle of abuse. This is exactly what Dr. Fez Mkhize and his associates are doing through the hashtag Let's Heal Together initiative. Dr. Fez is here to tell us all about it. Welcome back to the loft, Butwam.
Hey, how are you doing, Ali?
Babu Mkhize, I'm doing incredibly well. But do you know what makes me even happier? Seeing brave men like you taking matters into their own hands and charging this incredible initiative.
I think that's such an imperative thing, because these kind of conversations are not specific to the people who are being targeted. It's a society as a whole, because once we drop the ball on one thing, everything else is going to fall. And I think that's what these initiatives actually have as their backbone. And this has become such a hot topic because of the fact that there have been such gruesome accounts that we're hearing about, but this has been going on for eons.
Yeah, what I like to say is how you do one thing is how you do everything. So once we shift and change our behavior and our mentality in one space, we see that trickling over into the rest of our lives. So talk to me about the hashtag Let's Heal Together initiative. What is it all about, and what was the idea behind it?
So the actual hashtag Let's Heal Together was brought up by the Nest Space. It's a yoga studio, all-inclusive yoga studio that's in Greenside in Johannesburg. It was founded by two black women, Anessa and Vanessa, and it tends to be the focal point when there are issues like this around healing and spirituality. And I think it was roughly about the time of the xenophobic attacks last year, as well as the gender-based violence issues, where they came together and decided to come about with this Let's Heal Together. And they had an event, and it was predominantly women that came to the event, about 90% of them, and they started to actually think that they needed to collaborate with other men to try and make that actually happen. This is roughly at the same time where I was speaking with Simone Naidu, who's a life coach. I've known her because I've actually gone to one of her retreats, and we've done very similar kind of workshops to what happens in the Heal the Man and Heal the Boy workshops that we have. And she had decided that it was time for us to also do something maybe on a greater scale. And that was when I also thought, okay, as Mr. World Africa, and I'm seeing my African brothers and sisters who are being attacked in my own country, what am I doing to try actually stop these things happening? And it was just kind of this whimsical thing where we all came together, and we then became the male branch of the Let's Heal Together movement.
It seems like Uinene's passing and the chaos that happened last year became such an important catalyst for everyone to start moving. What will the healing process entail, and what support will be given?
So, as I said, Simone Naidu is an incredible life coach, and she has had many years of experience when it comes to this kind of work where you go to your inner child. And that's generally where we have a lot of our biases and a lot of the issues that we have are events that we may have had as a child be they traumatic, be they something where you were reinforced something that was negative stereotype, and then you just move on forward with it. What she generally does is make an environment that allows you to go internal. Through music, through mirror work, where you actually take a mirror and you look at yourself. Because we look at ourselves all the time, but we rarely ever actually look into our own eyes and engage. Because there's a lot of noise in the day, and most of the time we're like, okay, do I have blemishes on my skin or whatever it may be? When you look in the mirror and you're like, okay, no, I don't, I'm good. Just take the time to center yourself, find that place, and then go inwards. And then she, through a process of kind of speech, kind of coaching, takes you to a point where you can feel like you can be vulnerable in that space, and you can go internal and start thinking about some of the things that you associate with some of the knee-jerk reactions that you have.
Wow.
And from that place, you start being more open and more receptive to seeing if there was an incident where you had something reinforced that was negative. And for men, just because we grew up, and I know I'm not too far removed, I'm 29, and if you think of me as a millennial, I still have those old archaic, a man is tough, a man is strong, a man doesn't have weakness. And all of these thoughts without actually going, okay, who am I as a person? What is it I like? What is it I don't like? Why don't I like it? Without thinking I have to be one way or another. I can't cry, I can't be vulnerable. And it's those spaces that I think men need in this day and age.
It just seems like this is a unique opportunity here for men to truly delve deep and do something that is kind of absurd and might feel foreign to them, but completely immerse themselves in the experience. And I love that you've partnered with psychologists who do exactly that. Now, this goes without asking, but I hate that I have to ask. It's important, though. Should men be at the forefront of the fight against gender-based violence? And why do you think that this is?
I mean, that just goes without saying. I always like to kind of reflect back to the issues that we fight, either be it the LGBTQI plus community or the Black Lives Movement. You can't affect change if you're the person who feels like you're being attacked. You don't have the power. You need the people who have been given or having had that power given to them for whatever reason to also be part of it. And as a man, I know my self-work is always constantly happening. And I always want to feel like I'm in a society where there is equality and I won't be judged for anything other than me from that merit. And that means I have to be fighting issues that are very pertinent. And as I say, back to me, as somebody who was raised by a single mother who had aunts who were there looking after me, I would be amiss if I didn't go out there and fight this fight.
Well, Fezile, first and foremost, I just want to say, as an essential worker, as a doctor, I understand that right now you are hanging up your stethoscope and you're delving within philanthropically and giving back to the community. So we appreciate you for the work that you've done during this incredible different time, this pandemic of a time. Thank you for being brave, being bold and helping out. And now further extending yourself with your associates, making this hashtag go above and beyond not only South Africa, but feeling it in the fiber of our nation and our communities. Congratulations, Fez, and goodbye.
Thank you so much, guys. As always, Pani, I love seeing what you're doing. My sister loves you, the role model that you are, so keep flying.
We're all a family. Big love, big love, big love. Now, if you would love to be a part of this great initiative, head over to Dr. Fez's social media platforms to find out more and stay in the loop with all things hashtag Let's Heal Together.
Before I actually go into detail about the topic today, can I just mention how doctors these days just seem to be getting hotter by the day? But anyway, Palesa, in my view, I'd like to think I'm actually absolutely proud of the fact that men are stepping up more and more these days and actually being active with addressing the issues at hand. So I have to say I'm proud of that.
It is so key and pivotal right now in this current state that we find ourselves in, Dumi, as Umzansi. We need to hear from the fellas.
True.
You know, as our voice voices as females are getting weaker and weaker, and we feel like we're not being heard. So who better than the men themselves to kind of push their brothers, don't you agree?
I agree with you fully. It's about time.
So Dumi, you are a mother to a boy child. How are you finding it so far?
To be honest, because my niece and my son are raised in the same house, I can honestly say to you that there's no difference in raising a girl and a boy. People are talking about it being expensive to have a boy. It's the difference is basically the morals that you instill in the child.
Okay.
That is the difference. But other than that, they are the same. It's all about Yonkinsi Piawash.
Yonkinsi Piawash. And speaking about Yonkinsi Piawash, we wanted to find out how you guys are handling it in terms of parenting boy children and girl children. So on social media, Leafy said, #Afternoon Express. I think the biggest difference is that you need to give the girl all the protection she can get, and the boy needs to be stopped from doing the wrong things and getting into crime. So it's kind of interesting here to see that for Leafy, you believe that the protection of the girl child is key, and protecting the boys from crime and getting into trouble is also important. Thank you so much. And I can already see that South Africans are loving the topic because our social media comments are flying in. So let's keep that going. Now, coming up, amidst the increasing violence against women and children in the country, we host a panel discussion highlighting the important work done by women's shelters. We know with the increase of domestic violence in South Africa and the growing concern for the safety of women and children, today we welcome Shanaz Baruch from Penny Appeal, Fisani Mahlangu from National Shelter Movement SA, and Nuran Osman from Ihata Shelter to discuss the safe haven of shelters for women and children. Welcome to the Loft, ladies. Now, Shanaz, I have to start with you. Please may you tell us a bit more about your organization and why you decided to fund Ihata Shelter?
Sure. Good afternoon. So Penny Appeal is a locally registered relief and development organization. We focus predominantly on providing a range of projects focused on community development. And the Ihata Shelter is one such project that really caught our eye in terms of the sterling work that it does in the community. Very often we look for strongholds or strong points within a community, things that are able to speak to our strategy in terms of inculcating values, in terms of restoring dignity to communities. And having a women's shelter that focus specifically on women and children is something that's really close to our hearts here at Penny Appeal in South Africa. It's really important for us to be able to mold females into becoming, I would say, better strong points within family units, be able to inculcate in them values that they can then take back to their communities and households. And overall, I think it's just a really fantastic way for us to be able to get involved in the movement and fulfilling our duties in civil society, in being responsible for female empowerment and creating avenues and means, hopefully for long-term sustainable change in our societies, especially around female empowerment.
And Shanaz, speaking about things that are very dear to your heart, what is the importance of funding a shelter through an organization like yourself or directly to the shelter?
For females to have a safe space and children to have a safe space that they can go to when they're facing the challenges that we're hearing about every single day. You know, the escalation in female abuse, in child abuse. I think having a safe space in a community, it's vital. Every community needs to have that. And we need to really honor the communities in the areas that do exist and protect the existing shelters that are available.
It seems like Penny Appeal is right on the money with that one. Now, Nuran, moving to you. Please may you tell us what Ihata offers and how does Ihata help women who want to seek the shelter that they need? What programs do you offer and how does it assist them getting back on their feet?
So essentially, Ihata Shelter is a holistic shelter for abused women and children. And we're not just looking at the bed and breakfast kind of service. We're looking at reshaping, and as Shanaz said, we're looking at molding the whole woman so that she returns to society as a whole and she's able to, one, be beneficial to herself, her family, her children, and also to community and society. So it's not just about, you come in, you have a safe space to stay. It's about dealing with all of your issues, past and present. It's about reshaping your paradigm around victimhood. And it's about coming out as a survivor and coming out as a whole woman. I think essentially our programs are all geared towards the empowerment of women, right down to the final stage where we look at career development and then placing the women in jobs, for example, where they could become financially independent and therefore free to do and think as they feel, as they want. But it's really about shaping her whole life.
Nuran, have you seen an increase in the amount of women that have contacted shelters, especially during and after the hard lockdown period? Can you share what steps they can take and how women can find help once they've decided to approach a shelter?
I think I want to say yes and yes and yes. We absolutely have seen an increase. I think one of the ways that I want to encourage women, particularly during lockdown, to access help is to call us. We've got, in partnership with Penny Appeal, we've got a helpline, but also our office has a line that links to a mobile number. So if you call our office, you can reach us, and don't stay because you think things will get better. It is a very dangerous time. We've witnessed a lot of killing. We've witnessed femicide, essentially. And so I want to encourage women to say enough is enough. The lockdown contributes to the pressures already existent in the household. I think lack of food, lack of resources, all of that makes matters worse. And so really, it's probably not a good idea to stay, but to access shelter services, and then we can work from there. One of the things that Penny Appeal graciously funds is also programming for Perpetrator Intervention. So we're not just working with the woman and encouraging her to leave. We're also looking at family reintegration, but also helping the perpetrator access services so that he can be better and so that perhaps if she wants, we can rebuild the whole family.
Thank you for that, Nuran. Fisani, let's touch base with you. With 78 shelters around South Africa under the NSMSA umbrella, do you find that women are not willing to contact shelters for help because they feel ashamed? And how can we change the negative perception of shelters that women have around them?
First, to answer you, I would say the National Shelter Movement is a non-profit organization which is registered with the Department of Social Development. and it was established in 2008. Its main objective is to network, to lobby, to advocate on issues of gender-based violence and sheltering for abused women in South Africa. So to answer the question on stigma around shelter, I would say this is not actually happening across the country, but it's happening in certain areas. So I would answer it by saying that it's not really happening across the country, across the board, but many women access shelter and they don't feel the stigma at all. It's just those few areas maybe where you find that following traditions, and especially African traditions, still considered the norm. So I would say on that note that women should actually go out and seek sheltering, go out and seek shelter services through various platforms such as visiting the police stations to report abuse, visiting area social workers in their areas, or visiting the shelters themselves, because we have in some areas where these shelters are actually open for walk-in clients who actually come in and report violence. So there is no stigma at all. It's just a few pockets where we find stigma happening, but otherwise, in general, there is no stigma attached to taking shelters or to accessing shelters.
I love the fact that you've enlightened us and shown us the cultural aspect of it, something that we tend to forget in our current modern life and modern living. So I thank you for reminding us that, regardless, it is okay and it is safe to seek that help. So what advice, Fisani, do you have or can you offer the women of South Africa so that they can feel comfortable when seeking help?
I would advise women to seek help when there's still time. Once abuse starts, even if maybe a woman doesn't want to go into a shelter, but at least visit a social worker or a counselor near you and talk about the situation that is happening at home. Because it is best to prevent violence before it actually spreads and becomes something bigger, or it can actually lead to death. Because women should also be aware that when they are abused in their homes, the children themselves are also looking at this abuse. They are also experiencing it, even if maybe the father and the mother are not physically abusing each other, but the emotional aspects of it affect the children. So I would advise women to take action when there's still time, when it's still early, and they can use a variety of channels: police stations, social workers around them, community leaders.
Beautifully said, Fisani. And we also have all of that information as to how you can seek refuge and a shelter on Afternoon Express's website. And then hopefully you can touch base and get the help that you so desperately deserve. Ladies, before we bid you adieu and say goodbye, finally, any final words of how viewers can get the assistance that they need?
I think it's imperative that females who find themselves in positions where they are vulnerable, where you are in an abusive situation, first and foremost, I think it's important to say you're not alone, and there are avenues for you to explore. There's always an avenue, and it just starts with you being able to recognize that you're not alone. There is a solution. There is a way out.
A final thought from you, Fisani?
I would encourage women to consider taking shelter services or consider visiting social workers to ask for help when they are in situations of gender-based violence, because the earlier they seek help, the better. From what we have experienced, the statistics in the country show that women end up dying. So for you to protect yourself, rather seek help when it's still too early. Shelters are available across South Africa. Please seek help when it's still early.
Seeking help when it's still early is what it's all about. And again, just to reiterate, we do have all of that information on Afternoon Express's website. I mean, Nuran, I feel so incredibly grateful to have shelters like yours out there for women and children. Any final words from you?
So I'd like to say to victims of gender-based violence that you are not alone. There are many women like you with the same challenge as you who will stand by you. We are here for you. And through the generous support of Penny Appeal South Africa, we are able to work with both victims of gender-based violence and perpetrators. To the women who are struggling through their challenges, call us. We can help. And to the women who are not ready to leave their perpetrators, we can work with them too.
And on those final words, thank you so much, ladies, for all of the work and the contribution that you're doing in South Africa. We appreciate it. Cheers. Now, there's so many women in our country that feel alone and helpless. And if you or know someone that needs help, please make use of any one of the contacts or the organizations that we've chatted to today. You are not alone in this, and help is out there.
I absolutely love initiatives like this, and I love the fact that we're taking steps to help those that are affected, Palesa. But I also have to mention that it starts from the ground up. We have to teach our kids in a certain way. It's like people that say, I won't teach my boy child house chores. My child shouldn't clean. The girl should clean, but the guy can go and have fun with his boys. It's simple things like that that actually change a person's mentality, and then they grow up becoming the violent people because they expect certain
behaviors. It's absolutely crazy, Tumi, and I think that you're starting to hit the nail on the head here with the conversation. It comes from when they were young and the differentiation in terms of gender roles and responsibilities around the household. But let's turn our attention to social media and find out what you have to say, South Africa. So we've got Bongs, and Bongs used the hashtag Afternoon Express by differentiating boys and girls and says, I don't think that there's a difference. As long as you teach them respect, they'll be good citizens. Tumi?
Exactly. Ubongs has hit it on the head, because that's exactly it. The moment we teach them differently, we can't expect a different outcome. Because you've told them that you're entitled, so therefore act entitled as you grow up.
Okay, so I see that you agree with this one. I'm going to do a little bit, or rather read out one that's a little bit more sensitive, and I want to find out what you guys have to think. Okamo says, the problem I've realized with our black parents is that they teach girls to depend on a man, not be independent, causing high problems in their lives, having lifestyles they can't maintain themselves. Look, this is a challenging one, but I've actually seen it. I've seen it.
I know exactly what you mean. I've seen it. I've seen parents who see their kids doing the funny stuff and they don't call it out. They're like, well, girl, go get your paper. It's like, really?
and what's more painful, and to continue the conversation, is that then this builds a struggle and a power imbalance within the household, where the breadwinner, whoever's bringing in the coin, is demanding and saying, you do this, you do that, and the vulnerable person is stuck in the middle. South Africa, a tough one, but let's keep the thoughts going. The building of core values starts from a very young age, which is why it's so important we pay attention to how we raise our children. Coming up, clinical psychologist Sikanda Kala gives us some vital insights into raising a boy child. Raising boys can be tougher than most things in life and may very well be one of the hardest tasks a parent can be faced with. In the time of growing atrocities against women, from domestic violence to femicide and other vicious violations, how do we raise a responsible generation of men who will challenge and change this narrative? Here to talk to us about how parents can assist in fighting toxic masculinity at grassroots is clinical psychologist Sikandar Kala. Welcome to The Loft.
Thank you very much for having me.
Sikandar, male children are often taught and encouraged to be tough in their approach to various situations from a young age in comparison to female children. Now, how does this impact on the kind of men they become later in society?
Well, essentially, then what we're speaking about in that specific format is we're saying socialization plays a big role in how we raise our children. And I think one of the key things we can look at specifically when raising boy children is, are we pushing them in a direction of hegemonic masculinity, which is essentially the predominant form of masculinity that says these are the parameters that define what a boy and what a man should be within our social and cultural context. And essentially, one then has to subscribe to that or feel some potential fear of exclusion or actually be excluded. So we almost set up an expectation and force individuals to fulfill that expectation with the threat of them being excluded should that not materialize.
Now then, how does this form of parenting style lend itself to toxic masculinity at a later stage in the boy's life?
Well, I think if you think specifically of hegemonic masculinity, what are the key qualities that come into play when we think of hegemonic masculinity? We think that boys or men should be strong, should never cry, shouldn't show emotions, they should be dominant, they should be assertive, physically and otherwise. And essentially then what we end up doing is saying that this is what determines your level of competence as a man. And whenever that is being challenged, there's a retaliation, there's a defensiveness that kicks in. And that defensiveness is, I need to restore that sense of competence again. I need to restore that sense of manhood. And sometimes that can manifest in ways that come with transgressing the boundaries of what is healthy with our counterparts, because we have to conform and we have to assert that competence no matter the cost. So it really sets up individuals to almost find themselves in situations where even if they're not aware of it consciously, subconsciously there's always a power struggle to reassert that predominant form of manhood.
And it's this behavior, with so much ill treatment and violence towards women by men in our society today, how important is it for parents to start educating their boy on how to treat their female counterparts from an early age?
I think the first thing to do would be able to unlearn and relearn from a parent's perspective, because often what is being passed on is also things that need to be unlearned and relearned, because we sometimes may be able to pass on things that are familiar but perhaps not the most healthy. We were raised in that specific way, that's familiar to us, that's how it's always been, and we then just repeat the cycle. So I think first and foremost we need to step back, we need to say to ourselves, okay, is there certain things that I need to unlearn? Can I relearn them? When I've relearned them in the correct way, then let me focus on passing that down. And what must come into play there is self-awareness, self-insight, to say what certain strings are being pulled at, what am I unaware of, what are my blind spots that trigger me in a particular way to retaliate in a defensive manner.
How important is it for parents to be exemplary within the household in ways in which they treat each other, especially around the children?
Well, it's extremely important, and that's why I stress the point of self-awareness, because you're essentially the blueprint for your child, and they're going to try and form some form of resonance and emulate what you are teaching them. So I think from a social learning perspective, we learn a lot of behaviors in our childhood, and we take that with us and continue to, in almost a way in which we don't critically engage with it, we just continue to manifest those particular cycles.
A lot of parents say, do as I say and not as I do. But here we need to remember that children are sponges. So they see behavior, and here is exactly where now actions do speak louder than words.
Indeed. And that hypocrisy can quickly be picked up on quite intuitively, that your actions speak louder than your words. And I think it's so important in those moments to be able to say, I'm going to be a representative of how I want my child to essentially develop. And if you're not a good representation of that, verbally and non-verbally, you're setting yourself up for failure.
So then how important is the role of a father in shaping a boy or child's character?
I think if you think of what hegemonic masculinity entails, it's essentially passing down predominant forms of masculinity frameworks. In that regard, the child will gravitate to the same sex and say, hey, I'm a boy, I'm a male, I want to resonate with another male. I want to find that form of a patriarchal figure that gives me the guidelines and the frameworks. And I think it's difficult in South Africa where we have single-parent households where many of us are raised by grandmothers and what have you. It becomes difficult on how do we then find some masculine presence that we can emulate in quite a healthy way. And that's when we see individuals going to other figures that may not be able to teach them in the best ways possible. And that's where peer pressure comes into play as well. So I think having a solid foundation on how you want to project yourself, on how you want to represent yourself, on what your identity means, what are your blind spots, that needs to be emulated from someone that you can resonate with.
Sikandar, this is such a valuable conversation, but we need to also put our money where our mouth is. So what are practical tips that parents out there, and fathers specifically, can practice and use when raising the boy child?
I would say the most useful one is to actually say, we're living fast-paced lives. We're living, lives in which we're constantly moving from one thing to the other and juggling so many roles and responsibilities that we never actually take the time to sit down, reflect, do some deep introspection and say, hey, when I'm doing the stock taking, are things really adding up? Is this the sort of parental figure that I want to be? Or is there a few things that I can work on? Because essentially we're not asking for perfection. We're asking for just heading in the right direction. And I think one of the easiest practical steps is taking time to reflect, sitting back. You don't need anything fancy, just need to sit back, take the time to reflect, identify those blind spots that I've been speaking about quite a bit, identify what you need to unlearn, what you need to relearn, and then when you've actually conceptualized that, you're able to then put that into practice.
It's very interesting, Sikandar, how much self-work goes into raising another self, another human being. Thank you for reminding us here that it is as important to give equal attention to the boy child and the girl child from grassroots level. Cheers.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
There's a proverb that says, groom them whilst they're still young. And this may just be the big difference we so desperately need in fighting against gender-based violence.
You know, Palis, I'm so glad that Sikandar touched very, very well on the fact that it's more about preventative measures than about the cure. Because all of us now are talking about how the difference are between raising a girl and a boy. And we're talking about how the girls have to protect themselves. If we're raising boys the right way, there shouldn't be a need for them to protect themselves in the first place.
So here, Dumi, we always hear this prevention is better than cure when it comes to all things medically related. But here we're seeing a behavioral side to it. That instead of teaching girls to fix it, protect yourself from these men, we're actually going here to the root of the cause. I like where you're going there, sister. So can I read some comments on social media?
Go ahead, girl.
You're allowing me? Okay, so this is what Lerato has to say on the topic. Lerato says, the biggest difference when raising boys and girls is that you need to teach girls how to take care of themselves, love themselves. And for boys, teach them how to protect girls and respecting girls, and the same to girls. They also need to do the same. So Lerato's here saying that everybody's gotta respect each other.
Basically, and that is very important. If you're raising everyone with the same rules, to say respect is non-gender. Morals, it's non-gender. If you want to grow up and become a great person, the morals are the same.
I like that, sister. Uzotika, here. My sister's preaching here. My sister's preaching. So if you want more preaching, stay tuned. Because as children return to school each week, we want to give them the best defense against sickness. So coming up, we learn how to treat coughs for children.
Express yourself.
As a parent, hearing your child cough may make you feel uneasy. Whether your child has been coughing for a few days or a few weeks, it's important to determine the cause and what the best treatment is for a specific type of cough. We chat to pediatrician Dr. Mashendri Naidu on the different types of coughs your child may be experiencing and how you can treat it. Welcome to The Loft, Doctor.
Good afternoon, Teresa. Thank you for having me on your show.
Good afternoon. Now, do children get coughs for the same reasons adults do?
No, they don't. And I think that we have to realize that children are not mini adults. Children cough for different reasons. Their presentation, the causes, and the management is very different to adults. Children also have very different airway structures. Their control of the cough reflex is different. And what we have to understand is that they also have very immature and developing immune systems. And these are some of the reasons why children cough for other reasons compared to adults.
Doctor, what does it mean when you cough? I hear that it's the body's natural defense system to clear mucus.
You're quite right, Palesa. Coughing is a vital protective reflex mechanism that allows us to clear mucus, foreign particles, and microbes from our airways. When the cough receptors in our lining is irritated, then nerve signals pass to the cough center in the brain, which then allows us to cough. And this is known as the cough reflex. So in essence, being a protective mechanism, it is not good for us to actually suppress a cough unless we know what the underlying cause is.
Very good to know. Thank you for that, Doc. Now, you have acute type coughs, and then you have chronic coughs. What's the difference between these?
So doctors use the terms acute and chronic to classify cough based on its time frame. So in a child who's coughing for under 4 weeks, we would term that acute, and the commonest cause would be viral respiratory tract infections. In any child that's coughing for longer than 4 weeks, we would term this a chronic cough, and this generally will have some other sort of diagnosis which needs to be further investigated.
So what are the most common causes of coughs in children, and how do we treat them differently?
So cough is actually one of the most common presenting complaints to general practitioners and pediatricians alike. And it really can affect a child's ability to sleep, to play, to feed, and it also causes great concern for the parent. So by far, the commonest cause of cough in children is acute respiratory viral infections. Children can cough for 10 to 14 days post a viral infection, which is quite a long time for any parent. But I think being viral infections, we have to understand that they are self-limiting. So the treatment is minimal. It is supportive treatment. We require paracetamol to treat fevers, ensure good hydration in a child. The second commonest cause that we see is asthma, and we all know that allergies are on the rise. Asthma presents in children with a chronic dry cough, and this needs to be addressed as the management is chronic, requiring an inhaler device.
Doctor, with all this information, when should we be concerned?
So I think that alarm bells should ring in any child who is coughing that has persistent fevers and rapid breathing, shortness of breath, or if the child looks dusky in color. I mean, this could be highly suggestive of a pneumonia. Another red flag would be coughing in a child post a choking episode, because this could also mean that there's a foreign body inhalation and this needs urgent intervention. Children that have chronic coughs, that have sputum production, loss of weight, night sweats, or contact to an adult with, for example, tuberculosis, should also be investigated thoroughly.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for this information, and I'm sure mothers are all equipped with positive information so they can act immediately when they see their child coughing. We appreciate you, Doctor. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Brought to you by Dialink Junior, a cough syrup specially formulated for alleviating coughs in young children. Dialink Junior is sugar and alcohol-free and recommended for children 2 years and older. Baked Jr. Clears a wet cough and thins and loosens chest mucus. Suitable for children from the age of 2 years.
How I wish the doctor was available when my child had the cough, because I had sleepless nights thinking my child had chronic cough. He would cough so bad that he'd actually throw up. But then we learned that it's nothing major. It's just the child growing, Bali. Don't worry, Tumi. He's gonna grow up. He'll be okay.
Tumi, I can only imagine. I would cry tears. I'd be like, my baby. So then in tough situations like that, as a parent, what's the best thing to do? Level head, or do you go for the most dramatic thing and make sure that that's okay?
It's always best, because with me, it was a simple thing. The doctor had said, just test if there's a fever, things like that. Once you've done that once you've limited everything, you've taken everything out, and it's definitely not the major one, then you know it's nothing to stress about. It's a process of elimination. Yes. So once you've done that, you know there's nothing major to worry about. He's okay. If you've done all of that and it's not working, then by all means, run to the doctor.
Run to the doctor. Talking about doctors, okay, as much as we did have Dr. Faiz earlier, and just now we did also speak to another medical professional, let's speak about all things social and how to shift the social aspect that we find ourselves as Mzansi. We've asked you on social media, is there a difference between raising boy children and girl children? So if we head over here, we can see Unikiwe says, while I think girls need more protection than boys, society says girls are soft and weak, and I think that's why parents are overprotective with girls than boys, and that's totally unfair to boys, because we all need protection from our parents. What do you think?
That is very true. Nikiwa has got a point there. But the one thing I have to mention as well is that all children need protection. It starts with that simple thing where we say our boy child cannot cry, and then they grow up not expressing their emotions, and next thing you know, the only way they can express themselves
is physically.
And then you're like, why? It's like, because you told them not to cry. You told them not to show emotion, and this is basically the result of all of that.
Well, I might be a softie, but I'm a big believer in wearing your heart on your sleeve. Speak your truth, speak about your feelings, and then we all know how to handle it. But to me, something that I absolutely cannot handle right now is my hunger girlfriend. So how are we going to fix that?
We fix everything on Afternoon Express. We fix social ills, we fix appetites. Today we are making a butternut faux mac and cheese. So you don't have to have the pasta, you don't have to have the extreme carbs. You can actually zhuzh it up. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that.
Okay, we're going to be doing all of that live in our Afternoon Express kitchen shortly.
Express yourself.
Clover Fresh Milk is the #1 milk brand in SA. Made with love by Clover.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express from Mzansi, and I trust you're having a fantastic Wednesday afternoon. Now, mac and cheese has got to be the most popular go-to dish that everyone has a recipe for. But today, we show you a lighter version with all the creaminess and still the same flavor with our butternut fir mac and cheese. Dumi.
Yes, girl.
Faux mac and cheese. This sounds so good because, Dumi, if you're anything like me, as soon as I have a carb, it shows. I bloat immediately. So that gut will show that that carb. So here, let's take out the complex carbs and let's go vegetarian.
Well, not necessarily vegetarian, but we're going less bad carbs, more good carbs.
Okay, I can do that then. I can do that.
So like you said, everyone has their own recipe for mac and cheese. And the thing about it is sometimes people get tired of pasta because the carbs, obviously. So what I'm trying to show you here is that you don't have to worry about it. You can actually have it as delicious as you always do, just with more veggies. And I know we all try to get our kids to have the veggies and they don't. You can trick them into eating their veggies today. So we're going to start off by actually frying off our mushrooms. That's the first step. I like to have mushrooms in mac and cheese. Well, I love mushrooms. I could eat mushrooms.
Just as is.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Dumi.
One of those.
And it's so interesting that you say that because we have been speaking a lot about the options and the variations, whether you decide to go meat-free or whether you decide to, stick to the proteins. But the other weekend, I was craving some mac and cheese, something hearty and warm for the weekend. So I decided to make mac and cheese, but I was missing that protein. I was missing something hearty in it. I decided to do the same thing, girlfriend. I added some mushrooms into the dish and voila, magnifique. I didn't miss the meat at all.
Exactly. So we're going to be using our cream today, our Clover cream. And as you know, it's made with Clover milk, which is already, we know the quality tests that have been done there. So that you just know it's a quality product. So we're going to start with adding those now. But before I do, I want to first fry my chili flakes as well as my oregano. And as you can see here, I've got the flesh from my butternut on the inside, and this works as our fake cheese because the stringiness of it will actually have you thinking that there's cheese in there.
Wow! Because I'm like, Dumi, I have not seen no cheese over there on that side of your kitchen, but so far we're calling this a faux mac and cheese.
Correct.
So that's right on the money. South Africa, if you want to try this at home and get your hands on this delicious butternut faux mac and cheese, please do allow yourself to head over to the Afternoon Express website, afternoonexpress.co.za, and you can grab the everything you need, the details as to how you can create this with the love from Clover.
Correct. And the one thing I also love about this is that if you don't want to use the cream, because Clover has such a beautiful range. You could use sour cream, perhaps. You could replace the actual fresh cream for sour cream, and that it would still work just as well. But then, before I go further here, I just want to show you before I add the cauliflower how it actually looks.
Oh wow! I see the color in that.
Yes, and what's going to happen is when the cream reduces, it thickens, right? So that basically means that you've got exactly what you need. It's nice and thickened. It looks like cheese, but it's not. And basically, here we go with our faux mac and cheese.
That looks delicious.
And all we're going to do is we're going to top. I've roasted some cauliflower, so this is what we've got in here. I've got roasted cauliflower, and I also roasted my butternut as well. And then all we're going to do is just fill up our butternut. We don't need additional plates or anything like that. You're going to eat from the butternut itself.
Yes, queen. No, I'm loving this opportunity because I live alone. So if I make the dishes, I'm washing the dishes, queen. So I'm loving the fact that we're using our actual butternut shape here as the bowl. But Dumi, let's head over and speak about what we've been covering throughout the top of the show, which is the boy child. Finding out if there's a difference between raising a boy child and a girl child. Now, myself, I am the only girl out of a family of 4 boys, South Africa. Count him. But when my parents raised us, they decided to raise us all the same. So in terms of rules, responsibilities, and how we go about the household chores and the expectations expectations in the household, it was all the same. So in terms of curfew, we all had the same curfew. We all had to make sure we were home before the lights came on. We all had to make sure that we washed the dishes. We all had to make sure that we cleaned the kitchen, we cleaned the garden, and we cleaned the car. So I love the fact that my parents decided to raise us like that. Shout out to you, Mom and Dad. But South Africa, let's keep the conversation going. When you are raising boy children and girl children, is there a difference and why? Dumi, that looks delicious.
Thank you very much. I've just put a sprinkling of bacon on there, just, to add that flavor. And you need that texture whenever you're cooking. So if you want to, you can do that. It's up to you. If not, it's completely
super simple.
Yeah.
Okay, South Africa, now to get your hands on these recipes, head over to afternoonexpress.co.za. Mwah, Valwa. I'm very excited, South Africa, because it's only the middle of the week. We still have 2 more jam-packed fire shows, right?
Oh, and they don't know. You guys don't know what we've got in store for you, but please do tune in tomorrow, 5 p.m.
Please, may I give them a hint, Dumi, about what we're discussing tomorrow?
Okay.
All I'm going to say is, what a man, what a man, what a man, what a mighty good man. Yes, he is. Tomorrow, it's all about the fellas. So join us again tomorrow as we shine the spotlight on some of the mighty good men who inspire us all to be better. Until then, Mzansi, good night, stay safe, and happy eating.
Clover Fresh Milk is the #1 milk brand in SA. Made with love by Clover. Afternoon Express. Made with love by Clover.
Another feel-good production.